be in Ecclesiastes this morning, chapter 9, picking up where we left off last week. As always, it's good to be back in the house of the Lord. He's the same whether we're at home or Walmart or anywhere else, but it's always nice to be back home in His house. Hope everybody's doing all right this morning. We'll go ahead and get started. Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verse 1. For all this I considered in my heart, even to declare all this, that the righteous and the wise and their works are in the hand of God. No man knoweth either love or hatred by all that is before them. It's telling us that everything that happens is under God's control. There's nothing that happens He doesn't have control over, good, bad, whatever it is. He has dominion over everything and all. And it's all in His hand. We can take comfort in that when the troubles come, the trials come. We don't need to glory in the fact that He has a plan and He has all understanding and all control. Verse 2. All things come alike to all. There is one event to the righteous and to the wicked, to the good and to the clean, and to the unclean, to him that sacrificeth, and to him that sacrificeth not, as is the good, so is the sinner, and he that sweareth, as he that feareth an oath. This is evil among all things that are done under the sun, that there is one event unto all. Yea, also the heart of the sons of men is full of evil, and madness is in their heart while they live, and after that they go to the dead. It's telling us here, that death comes to each and every one of us. Good, bad, ugly, pretty, whatever it is, rich, poor. There'll be a time and appointment with death that we're all going to make. And no one can escape that. The difference being is that if you've lived a life fearing God, serving Him, accepted His Son Jesus Christ, then there'll be a better alternative in the afterlife. You go to heaven and escape the fiery pits of hell where those that don't repent and remain in their sins will go. But death's coming to each and every one of us, and that's an appointment no one's going to miss. And that is in God's hands and His time, and we never know when that day is. We just have to be ready. Verse 4. For to him that is joined to all the living there is hope. For a living dog is better than a dead lion. For the living know that they shall die, but the dead know not anything, neither have they any more a reward, for their memory, for the memory of them is forgotten. It's telling us here, the living dog is better than a dead lion. Obviously a lion would have a lot more power and strength than a dog would. If you think in a battle there that, the dog's probably going to lose every time to the lion. But it's saying here, that the dog, if it's alive, obviously is going to be better than the dead lion. It doesn't matter how much power or strength you have. If you're dead, spiritually speaking, you're dead. It doesn't matter what kind of possessions or power you have or how much strength or friends or whatever it is you have. If you're living in your sin, you're dead to the spirit. You're not any good for anything. The saying here, that even a tiny dog that would be alive and have the Spirit of God in it would be stronger and better off than a lion that would be dead and has no hope for anything in the future. Verse 6. Also their love and their hatred and their envy is now perished. Neither have they any more portion forever in anything that is done under the sun. Go thy way, eat thy bread with joy, and drink thy wine with a merry heart, for God now accepteth thy works. Those that are dead and don't know it, like I said, when they pass on, everything that they've done vanishes and goes away. Those that are living for God and are alive and awake in their life, they can have spiritual things that they can pass on and move on. And once you've accepted God and you move forward in your faith and you're serving Him the best of your ability, then He takes note of these things and He'll accept your works. Verse 8, let thy garments be always white, and let thy head lack no ointment. It's saying always be ready. Keep yourself as you can. You know, keep praying, keep repenting when you do mess up. Keep seeking His will. You know, so let the head lack no ointment. You know, that means you need to be looking out for what He's having for you to do, to be obedient, to serve Him, and you know, when He has things for you to do those things. You know, don't take anything for granted. Don't slack for anything. You know, any little thing that He asks you to do, you need to go ahead and move forward in that. Verse 9, live joyfully with the wife whom thou lovest all the days of thy life, of the life of thy vanity, which He hath given thee under the sun, all the days of thy vanity, for that is thy portion in this life, and in thy labor, which thou takest under the sun. You know, He wants you to enjoy what you do have, you know, and don't worry about the things that you don't. As far as the physical, you know, worldly things, you know, be content with what you have, and continue to grow spiritually, you know, and you're going to have a blessed life, and, you know, enjoy these things. That's a blessing God gives us, to be content. Verse 10, whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might. For there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave, whither there goeth. You know, whatever it is that you have, your talents, your gifts, whatever your callings are, whatever it is that you're doing for the Lord, you know, do it fully. You know, don't hold back. Make sure you're doing the best you can with it, and you know, give all that you have. Be completely sold out. Don't hold anything back. You know, because once you're dead and in the grave, you know, there's no going back and finishing up anything. You know, you don't want to leave here with anything undone that you knew you needed to do. You know, if you're doing the best you can, that's always asking you to do, but you have to make sure you're doing your best. Keep pushing yourself and keep sticking out there when He calls you to do things. And, you know, it's been a message that we keep hearing here about getting out of your comfort zone and going out forward, stepping out and doing things that He asks you to do. You know, don't hesitate to do those things. Move forward, you know. And He's always going to be there. You know, anything He's ever asked me to do, He had everything prepared and ready, and all I had to do was just submit, you know, and step out and be obedient to Him. You know, He's provided everything I needed. You know, all I have to do is show up and be obedient. And that's how He is. You know, that's what we all have to do. He's not going to ask you to do something and let you step out on a limb and then cut the limb off behind you. He's going to be right there with you, always, to see it through. Verse 11. I returned and I saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor yet riches to men of understanding, nor yet favor of men of skill, but time and chance happen to them all. You know, it doesn't matter if you're the strongest or the fastest, you're the wisest, you're the richest, you know, whatever it is that, you know, maybe you've been blessed with certain skills. Time, chance happens to everybody. It's going to rain on the just and the unjust. You know, good things, bad things happen to everybody. You know, and what we have to do is just keep faith in God that He has a plan and trust in Him. Of course, like we said earlier, you know, death's going to come to all. Doesn't matter, rich or poor, whatever, strong or weak. We have to be ready to do the work that He has before us, and, you know, we'll find favor with Him when we're obedient and doing what He asks us to do. Verse 12. For man also knoweth not his time, as the fishes that are taken in an evil net, and as the birds that are caught in a snare, so are the sons of men snared in an evil time, when it falleth suddenly upon them. This wisdom have I seen also under the sun, and it seemed great unto me. There was a little city, and a few men within it, and there came a great king against it, and besieged it, and built great bulwarks against it. Now there was found in it a poor wise man, and he by his wisdom delivered the city, yet no man remembered that same poor man. Then said I, wisdom is better than strength. Nevertheless, the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are not heard. The words of wise men are heard in quiet, more than the cry of him that ruleth among fools. So we're talking here, you know, the strongest, the fastest don't always win all the battles. Some, you know, those that have wisdom and seek His will and listen to what He has to do, what God we see those that are evil and they have power and it seems like they have everything that they want, but yet they're lacking spiritually. They're dead on the inside. And even the poorest people that have wisdom and are trusting and seeking in God can be used to defeat the strong. Just like in the story here we had about the city that was besieged and was, it all looked like all was lost, and that this king that had come against him had all this power and might. And it says that there was just a poor wise man, and he delivered that city with his wisdom. It doesn't say exactly what happened here, but he used wisdom and followed God, trusted in Him, and He delivered those people because of this poor man. But this world is set up, as it goes on these next couple of verses there that I read, that wise men, are heard and quiet because they can't be out in public talking because people don't want to listen. In general, you have to seek the wise man in quiet because fools are out running and screaming and saying everything that they know. And it seems like the louder they scream, the more this world wants to listen, because there's corruption in the world. But it's just like with God, there's a spiritual connection there. When you take time and you go find your quiet place to pray and you spend time with Him in quiet, He can deliver you wisdom. He can tell you the things you need to do. He can, have that connection with you that He's so longing to reconnect to each and every one of us, And, it doesn't matter, you could be out in the middle of a field, you could be under a tree, you could be in a church house at the altar, you could be in your closet, wherever it is your quiet time is. You don't need to shun that. You got to make sure you take time with Him and get in that quiet so that that spiritual connection can be there. He can show you things. Because wisdom is stronger than strength. Wisdom is a strength. It's better than a physical strength. Verse 18. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroyeth much good. Again, like we were saying, one person that can be louder and scream and get more people's attention can lead away many good things. Especially when they are lost and they're out in the darkness and they don't really know, they don't have wisdom. They may have strength, or maybe they have a strong voice, or they have a platform and they have a position of power. But if they're corrupt, they can turn away many people. But one person in wisdom, that could get people's attention and get people to listen, can turn away that destruction and can deliver people because of their spiritual wisdom and what God's given them to do. Ecclesiastes chapter 10. Dead flies cause the ointment of the apothecary to send forth a stinking savour. So doth a little folly him that is in reputation for wisdom and honor. It doesn't take much to mess up a good thing. Just like verse 18, the last chapter, it carries right on with this. You get a couple of dead flies in your medicine, and it can corrupt that and make it bad. You have to do all that you can to keep yourself pure and those around you pure, and keep out this worldly things and all the things of this world and all these earthly, fleshly things have to stay out of your spiritual life. You've got to feed that spiritual man and grow it. Because it just takes, a little bit of a slip up to destroy a good reputation of a man that has wisdom and honor. Verse 2. A wise man's heart is at his right hand, but a fool's heart is at his left. Yea, also, when he that is a fool walketh by the way, his wisdom faileth him, and he saith to everyone that he is a fool. Eventually, at some point, a fool may fool a lot of people and make them think that they're wise. But eventually, the way they walk, the way they talk, it's going to reveal themselves. They're going to fail, they're going to be exposed, and it's going to show, what they really are, what their true colors are. That's why we have to take heed that if we don't understand something fully, then we need to keep quiet. We need to go pray and learn and have spiritual wisdom about things before we say things, so that we're not exposed as a fool. But then when we do speak, that people do see that we have wisdom and it is of God, and that's where our strength does come from. 4. If the spirit of the ruler rise up against thee, Leave not thy place, for yielding pacifieth great offenses. We are confounded to certain laws and things. Jesus himself said to render unto Caesar what is his. So there are rules and laws that we do have to follow that the government can give us. But if it is a corrupt government, we have to fight the good fight in the lawful ways, to fix those things. And, we can do that when we elect good and pure, holy people, godly people that are seeking his wisdom to lead, so that we can vote out people that are corrupt, and we can put in good people. Because if we're just yielding and we just always give in to the corruption powers, that's going to bring great offenses. We've seen that when we do have people that are in power positions that are corrupt, and they do bring a lot of evil into our communities, in our state, in our country, around this world. So it is our duty as Christians that we need to make sure that we do everything we can to put good people that are godly people that seek his wisdom into places of power. Because you know very well that wicked rulers are going to rule wickedly. 5. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, as an error which proceedeth from the ruler. Folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in low place. I have seen servants upon horses, and princes walking as servants upon the earth. He that diggeth a pit shall fall into it, and whoso breaketh an hedge, a serpent shall bite him. Whoso removeth stone shall be hurt therewith, and he that cleaveth wood shall be endangered thereby. Whatever we do has consequences. If we do evil things, that's going to come home to us to roost at some point in time. When you see people all the time, maybe they rise to power, they have fame or fortune, and they did bad things to get where they are. They're corrupt, evil people, but eventually that's going to turn. The tide will eventually turn. They will be exposed, and just like in these examples we had here, people can be brought down low. It doesn't matter how strong or how powerful they seem to be. When they're wicked, eventually justice will catch up to them, and God will have his judgment on them. And, if you seek out evil things, they will come back to you. And, on the adverse of that, if you're doing the best that you can, and you're, being good, holy, you're living as close as you can, sometimes trouble will come to your door, but God will deliver you. He has a say in this, and he will carry you through. But you got to make sure you're doing all that you can and using wisdom and seeking him when you get into the hard times. Verse 10. If the iron be blunt, and he do not whet the edge, then must he put to more strength, but wisdom is profitable to direct. Again, before you start to get into a project, before you start to do something, you need to make sure you know what you're doing, that you have the direction, that you have the guidance, that you understand what it is that you're getting into before you get into the middle of it and realize you don't know what you're doing. Wisdom is profitable to direct. You always want to make sure you know you have everything you need before you start something, and that you have an understanding of how you're going to get into it and how you're going to get back out. Verse 11. Surely the serpent will bite without enchantment, and a babbler is no better. The words of a wise man's mouth are gracious, but the lips of a fool will swallow up himself. A wise man is going to build up, and he's going to help somebody. He's going to be gracious and loving and merciful, even when he does go to correct someone. A fool is going to babble on and carry on, talk about things they don't understand, cause much confusion, and eventually they'll reveal themselves, and they'll dig themselves a hole they're going to fall in. It says the lips of a fool will swallow him up. So again, it's best that if we don't have any understanding or any knowledge of something, to just say, hey, I don't know, keep your mouth shut. But if you do have wisdom and knowledge, and you do want to share it, but you do want to move upon it in a gracious and loving manner, and show kindness. Verse 14. Verse 13. The beginning of the words of his mouth is foolishness, and the end of his talk is mischievous madness. A fool also is full of words. A man cannot tell what shall be, and what shall be after him. Who can tell him? The labor of the foolish wearieth every one of them, because he knoweth not how to go to the city. You know, if you've ever been in a situation where someone was in charge or someone was there trying to take over a group or lead a group and they were foolish and didn't know what they were talking about, and they carry on, you know, it'll wear you down. It can run a project into the ground or destroy the work that everybody's trying to do. And that's what it's saying here. You know, to make sure that you don't let a fool lead you astray, because they will, and they'll destroy themselves and you in the process. Verse 16, Woe to thee, O land, when thy king is a child, and thy princes eat in the morning. You know, if you have youth that doesn't have wisdom and trying to guide the elderly, the more knowledge, it's going to be a travesty. It's going to be a disaster. It says, when the princes eat in the morning. Spiritually speaking on that, you think that would be somebody that would act impulsively, that wouldn't take the time to study out a matter before they react. They would give a knee-jerk reaction, so to speak, and they would just act on their impulses or their emotions and not sit back and take full thought into the matter that's in hand and think through, make sure they have a plan thought out. And, you know, you need people that are older, that have wisdom, that have worldly experience, that have been around, that have spiritual experience, that have, you know, prayed through these problems before. You know, you want to seek people that know how to solve this problem. And verse 17, Blessed art thou, O land, when thy king is the son of nobles, and thy princes eat in due season for strength and not for drunkenness. You know, that's saying, you know, people that have been around, that have experience, they know what's going on, they've thought things out, they've sought wisdom, they've sought God's guidance, and they have strength. And, you know, they're not caught in their drunkenness and foolishness, but they want to make sure that they have the right answers before they move forward and try to answer the questions. You know, that's a blessing to the land, just as much as when fools are in charge, it's a curse to the land. Verse 18, By much slothfulness the building decayeth, and through idleness of the hands the house droppeth through. You know, if you have things and you don't take care of those things, you know, they're going to destroy and fall apart. You know, just like if you're lazy and you don't keep upkeep on your house. You know, if you've got a leaky roof and you don't patch it and don't get it fixed, it's going to get bigger and the roof eventually is going to drop through and destroy. You know, spiritually speaking, you know, if you get lazy on, you know, coming to church, worshiping God, reading your Bibles, in your prayer life, you're going to get weak. You know, your spiritual life is going to decay, and, you know, you're going to destroy yourself. You're going to be lost because you've not, you know, kept up with God and kept that relationship up and, you know, kept yourself clean, kept yourself strong, and kept connected with Him. 19. A feast is made for laughter, and wine maketh merry, but money answereth all things. Curse not the king, no, not in thy thought, and curse not the rich in thy bedchamber. For a bird of the air shall carry the voice, and that which hath wings shall tell the matter. Again, when you see people that are living it up, they're living wrong, they have power, they have the money, it seems like everything's going right for them, don't curse those people. You know, we need to pray for those people, and, you know, that they would find the true way in the light. As it carries on here, it says, you know, a bird of the air shall carry the voice, and that which hath wings shall tell the matter. You know, eventually, their corruption will be exposed, they will be brought to light, things will come out, and then, you know, they'll be destroyed of themselves. You know, living an evil life is a curse unto itself. You know, it's just like when you live a pure and holy life, that's a blessing to you. You know, you may not have everything that everybody else has in this world, but, you know, when you cross over to the next one, there's going to be so much more of a blessing. You know, what you've done without here, you know, you'll have that much more over there. So we don't need to be angry or upset that, you know, the guy that's cutting corners and cheating and stealing and robbing is getting ahead of us in this world, because this world is corrupt and it's eventually going to fade away. You know, when we do without and we do the right things and, you know, we live the best life that we can following God, you know, there's so much more of a blessing awaiting us, you know. And so, there, you know, the sinly people are going to get all their blessings here on this earth, and they're going to fade away. You know, we suffer here, but, you know, we'll have blessings in the afterlife that'll be eternal and that'll be pure and holy, that will never go away. You know, anything that you lay up in heaven for God, and when you get there, it's going to be there forever. You know, and when we cross over, you know, what all pain and suffering we had here is going to vanish. You know, He's going to wipe the tears from our eyes, and we're not going to remember all the hard times. You know, we're not going to remember all the times we did without, and we saw the evil people celebrating. We're not going to remember all that. And when we get there, it's just all going to be pure and happy and joy and holy and in His presence forever, and it's going to be such a beautiful thing. You know, any little thing that we've done here to suffer is going to be so much worth it when we get there to the other side, and we're with Him in His presence forever. So, you know, don't curse the people that prosper here that are evil. Their time's coming. You know, pray for them that maybe they can, you know, repent and get saved, you know, so that they can have, their eyes can be opened and they can be alive, you know, and not the walking dead, and they can be alive like we are. Chapter 11. Cast thy bread upon the waters, for thou shalt find it after many days. Give a portion to 7, and also to 8, for thou knowest not what evil shall be upon the earth. You know, make sure that you're being wise, and you know you're saving some portion for yourself. Lay it up. You know, don't waste everything that you have. You have to plan for the future. You know, we're not promised tomorrow, but that doesn't mean like we live like there's not going to be a tomorrow. We need to live like there's not going to be a tomorrow, but we have to plan that there will be. We have to be ready for the future. You know, to give a portion to 7 and also to 8. You know, make sure you don't waste all that you have, but use wisdom. You know, keep some back so you have something for tomorrow, something you can share with others, you can help other people with. You know, don't live like some people out there that just, you know, whatever they have, they consume as fast as they can get it. And then they go searching, and that's all they're ever doing is looking for the next thing, you know, the next high, the next food, the next big thing, whatever it is. You know, be satisfied with what you have, but make sure you're taking care of it and using it appropriately. Verse 3. If the clouds be full of rain, they empty themselves upon the earth. And if the tree fall toward the south, or toward the north, in the place where the tree falleth, there it shall be. You know, there are things that just aren't. They are what they are. You know, when the rain or the clouds get full, they're eventually going to bring forth the rain and pour themselves out. You know, we talked about this a lot too here. You know, if a tree falls to the south, that tree's dead. It's laying right where it's at. It's not going to move. It's not going to grow. It's not going to change. If it falls to the north, same thing. Wherever it falls is where it lays. You know, there's a spiritual warning there. You know, if you live your life wicked one day, and then you're trying to live holy the next day, and then you keep going back and forth, you straddle that fence, well, whichever, you know, when death calls you, you know, where you fall is where you're going to be. You know, and that's a warning to us that we can't have one foot in this world and one foot in heaven. It's like that's not the way that we can be. You know, we're in this world, but we're not of this world. We have to be separate there from this. You know, and if we, you know, do you want to roll the dice with your soul to, you know, to be playing with sins and going back and forth and things like that? You know, that's not saying that we're not going to fail. You know, but when we do, we're quick to repent and we're quick to ask forgiveness and you know, to say, hey, I messed up. You know, this isn't a regular thing. I'm not doing it every day. You know, and that's the spiritual warning we have here with this. You know, when death calls you, you know, if you're in your sin, when you die, you're lost. You know, and so we have to, you know, keep that connection with God and seek Him daily and you know, bear our cross. You know, die to ourselves. The spiritual man has to live. That means that the physical man has to die. You know, we have to do that daily and get up and repent every day. As soon as something happens, you know, you have an errant thought in your mind, or maybe you're upset and, you know, whatever, you got to make repentance of that as soon as you can. Because, you know, you want to make sure that you keep that spiritual connection alive and you don't sever that. Verse 4. He that observeth the wind shall not sow, and he that regardeth the clouds shall not reap. As thou knowest not what is the way of the Spirit, nor how the bones do grow in the womb of her that is with child, even so thou knowest not the works of God who maketh all. we can't get caught up with everything that's going on around us. If we wait for the perfect time to move forward and do anything that we're going to do, it's never going to be the perfect time. We have to be ready, prepared, and work when the work's there, and not make any excuses here. And then, God's going to give us some things to do sometimes that we're not going to quite understand. It may just be some little simple thing that He asks you to go and, maybe write a note to somebody, maybe you go ask how they're doing. Whatever it is, it may seem silly to you, but, we don't understand His ways fully. He's given us something to do, and that one little thing may be exactly what that other person needed. It may be, they're about to give up, the world's beating them down, and that little bit of encouragement you give them may turn them back around and give them the strength to carry on and not go astray. We don't understand all the ways of our Father. His wisdom is so far beyond anything we can fully comprehend, and we just have to play our little part. I talk about that all the time, about the puzzle pieces. We just have to do our little part in that puzzle and hold our pieces, hold the hand of the person that's next to us and keep that piece together with us. And then if everybody does that, God's above us and He sees the whole picture. We don't need to worry about doing things that He's not asked us to do. We just got to do the things He asks, no matter how small or how big they are. The edge pieces aren't going to be any good if the middle pieces aren't there, and vice versa. We just have to do what He asks us to do and trust that He has an omnipotent knowledge of everything that's going on, and we fulfill our little piece, and that connects on to the next piece, and then we can all go home together and take care of each other. And it all goes back to that obedience, and seeking His will in our lives. And that goes back to wisdom. Verse 6. In the morning sow thy seed, and in the evening withhold not thy hand, for thou knowest not whether shall prosper, either this or that, or whether they both shall be alike good. Truly the light is sweet, and a pleasant thing it is for the eyes to behold the sun. Again, we know what we have to do. We go out and we do that, and we don't have to worry about the end results of the actions that we do. We do the best that we can. We sow the seed, we water the seed, and God gives us the increase. We might not be meant to see all the results of everything that we do. We may just have this little piece here, and then, a couple years down the road, somebody else, we sow a seed and they water it later on, and then the fruit will bear later on, maybe after we're long gone. But we started that process. God used us to start that process, and if we didn't plant that seed, then the next person can't water that. So we destroy that plant. So we just have to do that little piece that He asks us to do, and then know that we'll be satisfied that we obey Him and His obedience, and that's all the reward that we need right now. He'll give us the reward that we're due in His time. Verse 8. But if a man live many years and rejoice in them, let him remember the days of darkness, for they shall be many. All that cometh is vain. We live a long life. We look back on the bad times. I don't think that this is meant that we're supposed to dwell on those bad times, but I think it's supposed to mean we're supposed to remember all the things that He brought us through, and that how much worse it would have been if we hadn't had Him to see us through those dark days and to carry us through. We don't ever want to dwell on where we came from, but we want to dwell on how far He's brought us from those things. How far He's delivered us. We've all come short. We've all had our sins, and we've all lived our worldly life at some point in our time. But we don't need to dwell on the past. He's delivered us from that. And those days of darkness are gone, and they're vanity. They're gone. They don't matter now that we've repented and we become spiritual beings and followers of God. He's delivered us from those things. If we want to remember, we remember how far He's brought us. Verse 9. Rejoice, O young man, in thy youth, and let thy heart cheer thee in the days of thy youth, and walk in the ways of thine heart, and in the sight of thine eyes. But know thou that for all these things God will bring thee into judgment. When we're young, we still have our health, we can do anything that we want to do. We have the choice to live however we want, but any choice we make brings consequences. If we make bad choices and poor choices and we decide to continue in sin, God's going to bring judgment upon us for those things. And if we make good choices and we try to do the best we can to help others, to love others, to be obedient to Him, those things will be judged and will be found, pure in those, and there will be rewards. But every choice you make, good or bad, has consequences. And we have to understand that whatever we choose to do, it's just like that tree. When it lands, then that's where it's going to be. There's no reversing it later on. Verse 10. Therefore remove sorrow from thy heart, and put away evil from thy flesh, for childhood and youth are vanity. At some point we all have to grow up and mature. We can't be on that milk forever. At some point we have to grow up and take that spiritual meat. We can have faith in His grace that when we are young, when we stumble and make foolish choices, if we're quick to repent, He will forgive us for those things. But we can't stay in that form of our spiritual life. We have to grow and move forward at some point in time. You can't stay a baby forever. At some point, it's time to grow up and be who He asked you to be, and to move on in the spiritual growth. Ecclesiastes chapter 12. Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. While the sun, or the light, or the moon, or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. And the doors shall be shut in the streets, when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. Also, when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fear shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be a burden, and desire shall fail, because man goeth to his long home, and the mourners go about the streets. What we're saying here is, you're looking at all this, and it's talking about as the years roll on, do the work while you can. Be prepared, because there's going to come a day when your strength's going to fail you. Your body's going to give out, your mind will give out. Things that were easier before are going to become harder to do. Age is going to catch all of us that don't die young, and you have to be prepared. You have to get your work in when the time is due. If you're supposed to do something when you're in your 20s and you wait till your 60s to do it, you're not going to be able to fully complete that task with as much ease. You're not going to be able to even finish that and do what you're supposed to do. Don't waste your time. When God gives you something to do it right then. Strike while the iron's hot. Don't go don't go back and try to redo things, 20, 30, 40 years later. You may not have that opportunity. And, death is coming to each and every one of us. We don't know when it'll be. There's babies that never make it out of the womb. There's people that are 110 years old, walking around. We don't know how long we have, but we have to make do with what we have and make sure that we're profitable in that time. We're not wasting our years. We're not wasting our youth. We're not wasting the abilities and talents that He's gave us, because at some point in time, that's going to stop. And death's going to come and call each and every one of us. And then it's going to be too late to do the things that we were meant to do, And if we all want to be honest and truthful, we're all born with certain talents and gifts that God's given us, And some people, they use those gifts and talents and they use them for the world. They become rich and famous. And, they miss the real true opportunity of what they were supposed to do with those. And some of us, we're here and maybe we kind of halfway go at it. We don't really fully sell ourselves out. But, we're going to have to answer for that at some point in time. And I think I know I've been guilty of that before. I've held back and I've thought myself, well, there's somebody else that's much better at me than that. They have more knowledge, they have more wisdom. I need to let them do that because I'm not worthy to do that. But if somebody else has to pick up your slack, then they're not being able to do what they were supposed to do. We're accountable for what we have to do. And ultimately what it comes down to is that you're worthy because He called you. That's what makes us worthy. It's not that I'm the best, or I'm the smartest, or I'm the strongest at this. You know, quite often he actually uses the opposite of that. Somebody that's, maybe not the sharpest, knife in the drawer, so to speak, or whatever, but it's like somebody has a willing heart, and that they're willing to give up whatever they had planned and do his will in their life. And then that person, winds up looking like that they were the strongest and they were the wisest because spiritually speaking, they were the strongest and they were the smartest spiritually speaking because they were obedient, did what he had to do, what he asked them to do. That's all that we ever really ask us to do is just be obedient. Verse 6, wherever the silver cord be loosed, or the golden bowl be broken, or the pitcher be broken at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern, then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. That's where we were getting to at this point. At some point in time, this body's going to give out and it's going to die. We were made from the dust of the earth, and we're going to return to the dust of the earth. But the spirit, that soul that's in you, is going to go to God, and you have that appointment. And there's nobody that's ever been born that's ever going to miss that appointment. And when He calls you, you're going to the condition that you're in. We have to be ready. We have to be prepared. And if we were disrespectful, we were heathen, we wandered after the flesh and sinned, and we relished in that and never repented, we're going to go to judgment, and that's going to be the testimony we have before Him. And if we were faithful, we repented, and we realized who we were without Him, and we were obedient to Him, and we sought Him, and we lived as close as we could to Him, and we were doing what He asked us to do. We believed in Jesus Christ, and we're blood washed and set free and filled in the Spirit. When we go there, that's going to be our testimony before Him. And that's all it's going to matter, is what we chose to do with what He gave us, And He gave us His Son, Jesus Christ. And, that's going to be what's going to stand before it. When we stand in judgment, that's all that's going to matter. What do we do with His Son, Jesus Christ? If we rejected Him, we'll be rejected. And that's not going to be God sentencing us, that's ourselves, And if we accepted Jesus Christ, then we will be accepted. That's just as plain and simple as it can be, But everybody's going to stand there someday, and that's the only answer we're going to have. We're going to have, well, my answer is me, and we'll perish, or our answer is going to be Jesus Christ, and we'll live. Verse 8, vanity of vanities, saith the preacher, all is vanity. And moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge, yea, he gave good heed, and sought out, and set in order many proverbs. The preacher sought to find out acceptable words, and that which was written was upright, even words of truth. The words of the wise are as goeth, and as nails fastened by the masters of assemblies, which are given from one shepherd. People that are wise, that are going to teach, they're going to preach, they're going to seek the truth, and that's what they're going to share with you. And that's good, and it's a testimony of their life, and that's going to stand one day. But it's up to each and every one of us to accept these things. You can have the best teachers in the world, the best preachers in the world, but it goes ultimately down to a personal decision that you make to serve God or reject God. And so, it's good that we go out and we teach, we preach, we do whatever He's called us to do, and then that in itself will be good for us. But people that reject that, that's on them. We can't get caught up in those that refuse to listen. We just have to go about our work and our business and do the best we can and try to help all those that we can, but we can't get weighed down by those that reject and will try to pull us back. Verse 12. And further by these, my son, be admonished, of making many books there is no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh. And here we go with the conclusion of this. We spent the last several weeks in Ecclesiastes, and Solomon, when he was a child and he was going to take over for his father David and be the ruler of Israel, God was going to bless him, and He asked him that He would give him whatever he asked. And Solomon said, I'm a youth, and who am I to lead these people? God, give me the wisdom to rule your people correctly. And so he asked for that wisdom, and God was very pleased with that. That he didn't ask for a long life or power or more riches or whatever. He chose a spiritual thing. He said, God, I need you to give me the wisdom to lead your people the right way. And so he searched and he thought, and that's what we spent this study in Ecclesiastes on, is what is the meaning of life, And as we've learned and we've read, Solomon did everything there was to do. He had power, he had money, he had singers and musicians, he had homes and gold and silver and all those things, pleasures of life. He had all those things. And he said, all these earthly things are eventually going to fail, and they're not going to matter. They're all vanity. It's spiritual things that are going to matter. And in this conclusion, this next 2 verses lays it out as simple and as pure as it can be of what the meaning of life is. Ecclesiastes 12, verse 13 and 14. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment, and with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. Right there, the wisest man that lived said what we're supposed to do with this life. What is the meaning of life? Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. So seek God out early in your life. Continue to seek him and be obedient and do what he asks you to do. That sums it up right there. Because he said, for God shall bring every work into judgment and every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. God already knows everything about you. There's nothing you can hide from him. He already knows. Be truthful about it. Fear him. Serve him. Believe in his son, Jesus Christ. And serve him to the best of your ability. That is it right there. And, Solomon put it out right there, plain and simple. Better than anybody could ever do. There it is. And that's our conclusion with Ecclesiastes. The decision you make to serve God or to not serve God is all that's going to matter. That's the only thing you're going to carry with you in this life, is what you've done with the decision about serving God, believing in his son Jesus Christ, and walking in the Spirit. That'll be it.